Good morning, guys. Dr. Jeff here at Run Live Well. Welcome back to Run Live Well, or for new viewers, good to see you. Today, I thought we might talk about finding the perfect fitting running shoe. So this morning, I would like to start off with just a simple question for you guys. I want you, in a moment, to shout out at the screen, and I'm going to listen for you. I just want you to shout out your shoe size. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm listening. Okay, got it. Well, unfortunately, the research shows that about 75% of you are wrong. And I can tell you that probably even more of you are wrong if you shouted out a number. If you have listened to a number of my talks or videos before, you probably know that the correct answer to anything running related is it depends. This would have been the correct answer for today. See, a street shoe that you've been measured for may be a specific size, but the running shoe size is a variable, so it really does depend. If you are measuring the shoe length that you need at the end of a marathon, well, you probably should have taken your shoe size or done the measurements after you've gone for a long run. So the length of our foot really changes throughout the day, throughout the season, throughout a running season, and throughout life. I often joke with my patients, they come in frustrated that they're getting an inch shorter every 10 years. But I tell them, well, at least your feet are growing. Back when you were in college, you might have been a size 9, but probably you're size 11 right now. So isn't this great? Well, this really does happen, but really the bones of the feet do not grow. It's more like the arches collapse. We have several arches in our feet, and all of them tend to vary with age and with the stress that we put on them. The foot will be longer and wider at the end of the day compared to the beginning of the day, but especially after a long run or a marathon. In fact, the current research shows that after a marathon, your feet may be longer for up to 8 days. Your arch, your medial longitudinal arch, will be a little bit flatter, which makes your foot longer for 8 days. So that old Brannock device that used to be very common in shoe stores 20 years ago. I haven't seen one recently in the running shoe store, but they put you on the device and give you your shoe size and your width. The problem with that is that it's just a number that doesn't take into account the expansion of your foot throughout a long run. So there are better ways to get an idea of how to perfectly fit your shoe. Finding that perfect fit can be a big challenge for a lot of new runners and seasoned runners. So let's hop up into the video here and we'll see if we can help these young runners find the perfect fit. So ideally, it's later in the day or we've already gone for our long run. One way that I like is to just take a piece of paper, tape it to the floor, step on it, and then just trace out the parameter, the outline of your foot. Okay. So now that we've got an outline, a simple thing that you can do is just take the insole out of your shoe and place it on top. And if you cover up most of your foot, that's a good thing. Another simpler way is to just, when you're in the sneaker store, just take your sock off and put your heel at the back of the insole that you have removed from the shoe, and you should have your whole foot within the insole, and you should be able to wiggle your toes a little bit without coming off the insole, and you should also be able to take one thumb and place it at the longest toe and keep that on the insole. If you can do all of those things, that takes more into account the whole volume of the foot than just taking a length and width measurement that the Brannock device does. So other things you might do with the shoe on to make sure it's a good fit before you start walking and running in it is just tap your heel to the back of the shoe and then reach down and palpate for your longest toe. In most of you, it will be your big toe, but a number of you, it's going to be your second toe. So make sure that you can fit a thumb's width between your longest toe and the end of your shoe. Next off, go to the back of the shoe, and you should be able to wiggle in one finger without too much trouble. You really want the shoe to be snug but not constricting. Now, try and sneak in 2 fingers, and I'm having trouble doing that, which is a good thing. That means that probably the fit is just about right. A lot of the runners I work with will try and get a foot that is shaped like this into an insole that is very similar to the size of their street shoe perhaps. It might be okay for length, but you will notice that there is all kinds of spillage over the outside of the foot. So we need a much wider and actually longer foot because, like we talked about, the arch does collapse when we run some. This is part of pronation, but also throughout the run, a longer run or throughout the day, the arch actually sits down a little bit lower, making the foot longer. So running shoe size does not equal street shoe size. As a rule of thumb, you want to go up a size to a size and a half from your street shoe. So a shoe that's shaped like this insole here for me would really be a foot coffin. It would tighten up way too much on my forefoot. It could contribute to problems such as bunions, and about 1/3 of us runners develop bunions, so it's an extremely common problem. I blame a lot of it not only on the running shoe, but the shoe that you wear the rest of the day. It's actually going to have more of an effect on the shape of your foot. If we do develop a bunion, it really decreases the ability of our most important toe for running, our big toe. We push off with 80% of our weight through the big toe. If it's not functioning as a perfect second-class lever, you're not going to be able to run as fast. So now that we've showed you some things that you can check to help you get the perfectly fitting shoe, it's pretty easy to buy the correct fit. But what about those 3 or 4 or 5 pairs of sneakers you've got in the closet that are in your rotation right now? And they might be a little bit too snug for you or a little bit too small. Or you may be slipping around in them too much and developing problems like blisters. So let's look at a few simple modifications that you can make on an existing pair of shoes so that hopefully you can get another several hundred miles out of them. So let's say that your toe box is a little bit too tight. It's shaped like a triangle this way, and your barefoot is actually shaped like this. So you're really squeezing your toes too close together, and this can contribute to a baby bunion or Morton's neuroma, all kinds of problems. So to create a little bit more space here, there's a very simple solution. It just involves unlacing your shoe. So now that you've got the lace out of your shoe, what you want to do is palpate the widest part of your foot. And for me, it's right at that metatarsal head where I might be developing a bunion. So palpate it and then just go across to where the first eyelet is. And I definitely need to leave that one open, but my metatarsal head comes back so far that I'm even going to skip the second eyelet. So there'll be a lot less pressure across the metatarsal head. And always double notch your running shoe so that your laces don't come untied. Now I have all kinds of breathing room for my toes. I can move them to the side, I can splay my toes. Feels great. Now another common problem that I find in runners is a heel that slips when they're running, and this can lead to aggravation of the heel and blisters. It can also lead to the foot sliding back and forth too much, and it can cause some runner's toe or tennis toe, black toenails. So a good solution for this, if we take the same shoe here, is to find that last little eyelet that runners never use and just make a little loop. And do the same thing on the other side. If we can get it through here. Then what you want to do is take the lace on one side and go over and across and go through the loop on the other side. And what we want to do is just pull out to gently cinch this down, and then forwards a little bit. It'll cinch a little bit more. You'll feel the heel get locked right in, and then tie your laces the way you normally would. Now the heel is in place. If you try to stick one finger in there, you should be able to still get it in there, but with this locked in here, you're not going to get two fingers in, hopefully, and this is now a good fit. And I shouldn't slide around as much, and this will help to decrease those black toenails. The other thing that's really important, though, is to make sure that your actual shoe length is a size to a size and a half larger than your street shoe. Now, runners, let's talk about a common situation that I found myself in a number of times, that your shoe size, the sneaker store or nobody online has the size that you want. So could you go to the opposite sex shoe and get the color and the size that you want? The answer is usually yes. And it's usually easier to do if you're a lady going into a men's shoe. If you are a female trying to go to a men's shoe so you can get your size and your color, you want to go up down 1.5 sizes. The shoe will still probably be a little bit wider, but quite often that's something that can be beneficial to you, because most ladies, you do run in a shoe that's a little bit too narrow. And this probably has contributed over the years to a number of the running injuries that you may have had, such as plantar fasciitis and Morton's neuroma and bunions. The difference between men's and ladies' shoes is really minute, and recent literature shows that either sex can run in the opposite sex's shoe without an increase in risk of running injuries. The main difference between a men's shoe and a lady's shoe is that for the ladies' shoe, they tend to just pink them and shrink them. Aside from that, one other very small and somewhat insignificant difference is they tend to give a little bit more stability, build in a little bit more stability into the ladies' shoe. And that's because ladies have wider hips, they tend to pronate their feet a little bit more, and this is something that's been shown to not be terribly important. We know that in general, with both sexes, if you are an overpronator and you are given a medial post, it doesn't help to prevent running injuries. In fact, it may increase it a little bit more. So this difference between the two sexes' shoes, I consider to be irrelevant. My preference is to get you guys into the most comfortable and lightest shoe with the least support. If you watched my other videos or listened to any of my talks, I've said a million times that every support builds a weakness. And if you are someone who's always run in motion control and stability shoes, well, you probably need them, but not because they are beneficial to you, but because you have become dependent upon them. So I like to try and wean runners from the support, whether it's an orthotic or a motion control or a stability shoe. When we go into the sneaker store, about half of us are sold stability shoes and half of us neutral shoes. Thank goodness only about 5% of us are sold motion control shoes anymore. But of those 50% of us who are sold the stability shoes by the sneaker store, probably only about 10% really need it. So the rest of us, if we could gradually, over a period of weeks, not days, weeks and months, if we could gradually do more of a running in shoes with less support, you'll probably find that your feet do strengthen and you'll be able to run in the neutral shoe. So runners, I hope these tips will help you find that perfect fit, if there really is a perfect fit. I prefer the term good fit, because even if a fit was perfect, our foot would adapt to it, the little bit of support that it offers would build a weakness. Remember, every support builds a weakness. So one interesting study that I use with my wife all the time, because she accuses me of buying too many running shoes, but the research does show that if you rotate through several different pairs of shoes, you have about a 40% less chance of getting a running injury. So vary your shoes. It's very similar to running on different surfaces, and there's research that also shows that this can help to decrease your risk of running injury. So it makes sense that by varying the support in different types of shoes will decrease our risk of injuries. So runners, I hope this information helped you, and I hope we see you again next week. If this content is useful to you, please like and subscribe. That helps us grow our brand new running channel. And also, please leave any comments below. I try to get back to all of the questions. So far, I've been able to keep up with all the questions you guys have been giving me. And thanks for any suggestions for future topics. And we will see you next week. Run, live well.